Okay. Are we ready, everybody? Okay, we can start. Good? Okay. Please call the meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Route of egress. In the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Haledon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on January 10th, 2024. Notices of this meeting indicating date, time, and place were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance of the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Haledon. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi?
Here.
Mr. Paletta? Mr. Trust?
Here.
Mr. Guzman?
Here.
Mr. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Maxwell? Mr. Ramadan? Dr. Webb?
Here.
And Mrs. Wilson.
Here. Okay, so we're going to start with the presentation. Who's going to introduce the presentation?
Yeah, so at a board meeting about a month or so ago, presented our data, our state assessment test data results, and the board had some questions about what we do with that, how we kind of use that information to realizing some of the gains we've seen in ELA and in math the last couple of years. So Ms. Troy, she serves two roles. She's our school's literacy coach, and she's also doing her superintendent internship. So this is part of her internship. So she's going to present to the board how we use our assessment to guide our program. Thank you, Ms. Troy.
Thank you, Mr.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. So like Mr. Walker said, this presentation was created as a follow-up to last month's board meeting talking about data. It outlines what HPS does with data and all the academic programs that we use to support our students. So,
Ms. Troy, would you mind just getting a little closer to the microphone so that everybody can hear?
okay, so assessment is an important part of our practice here at HPS. We know that it is good practice for good teaching and good learning to really understand where our students are and have data-driven instruction. Assessment comes in many forms. We know that the teachers on a day-to-day basis do formative assessments embedded within their lessons. They're checking students' understandings and their and also through exit tickets and questioning techniques, but it also way in more formalized structures like unit assessments, state standardized tests, or in this case, district benchmark assessments. So the teachers use this data to really drive their instruction, really understand where their students are, and meet them to bring them up to where they need to be. At HPS, we do a lot of assessments, both state mandated and for our own data collection. We know that at the end of each school year in the spring, we do NJSLA testing for grades 3 to 8 in math and ELA, and then also grades 5 and 8 in science. We also do access for our ELL learners, so to just kind of assess where they are in the English language acquisition. And then we also do district benchmark assessments through a variety of forms, just to really understand in a whole child way to see where our students are. We do this through the Linkage benchmarks for grades 3 to 8, which really mirrors our NJSLA assessments. They're highly correlative and predictive of that, and they mirror the questions for the students online and in the question structure. We also use IXL for all of our grade levels to really get predictive data and pinpoint proficiency levels across math and ELA subject areas. And we also do an H&H growth measure, which is a reading foundational and comprehension assessment, which also gives an output for Lexile, at which rate students are reading at their appropriate grade level. So all of these are administered a couple times a year. Linked is administered 3 times a year, and the other 2 assessments are administered twice a year. So really what this means is that HPS is focused on data-driven instruction. It's a lot of information, a lot of numbers, but we use it to understand where our students are and support them. We collect this data, understand and analyze it, and then the instructional coaches, myself and Jennifer Ramos, who is the math coach, my math counterpart, we take this information and provide teachers with skill-based and standard-based information that they can then use in the classroom. So our data life cycle, at the center of it all is our students, their success, their academic growth. It allows us to have student-centered classrooms and equitable classrooms where we're really meeting the students' learning goals, and teachers can drive their instruction accordingly. So I'd like to think of this data life cycle in 3 ways, or in 3 stages. The first stage is data collection, and that's where we spend the beginning of the year, the month of September, largely doing those district assessment benchmarks that I mentioned previously, trying to see where the students are as they're coming into the school year. What do they know as they're coming in for the skills and standards that they are going to be learning in the school year? So we know that many of these skills and standards, they have not been taught yet, but it allows the teachers to know what they do know, and when they come across that in the lesson, they can scale up or scale down based on the student's proficiency levels. So we, at the same time, are looking at NJSLA data. Because it's the beginning of the year, we're in data collection, and we're also in state assessment analysis. The state is releasing those reports that Mr. Walker presented, and we, the instructional coaches, are working behind the scenes to really digest that information. What does it all mean? And we're able at that point in the beginning of the school year to provide the teachers with 3 to 5 skills or standards that we're giving them a focus area on. This is how students performed, and these are some areas to focus on, knowing that we are going to provide them with more information later on. Stage 2 is the analysis phase. After all of the data collection occurs, this is where the instructional coaches really dig deep and look at all of the assessment data that we just collected. How did each student perform individually on these assessments? And then we're also looking at trends. What is going on in the grade level? What is going on between the student cohorts, between math and ELA subject areas? So we're really trying to see how our students need support and what areas they do need extra support in, or areas that they are excelling in, and we can provide teachers with that information as well. Stage 3 is action and intervention. It's a lot of numbers, a lot of charts and graphs, and we want to be able to provide teachers with the resources they can turn around immediately into the classroom, into their lessons, and leverage the resources and curriculum programs that we have in place. So here's an example. We presented this data to the teachers a few weeks ago, and we provide them some snapshots of the assessment results by grade, by subject, and by cohort, and then summarize the key findings for them. And then we provide the teachers with unique resources for each of those assessments that we collect and we create that they can immediately use in their classroom instruction. So for example, the linked benchmarks, we look at that information, we identify 3 to 5 standards where students performed poorly, and then provide the teachers with those test questions, the test answers, and link all of that information to the chapters in the textbook curriculum, and also any supplemental programs that provide the students with extra practice for the specific skills that they are struggling in. So teachers can use this in their classroom in a do now. They might bring this up in the chapter or unit that they're teaching that skill in. But what it lets them know is that in their planning process, they're given data that will allow them to know, is this an area where the teacher needs to leverage additional resources because their students are struggling with this skill? Or on the flip side, are the students excelling in this and they don't necessarily need to integrate all of those other resources because they understand it? So it kind of lets them balance their lessons that way. We also show teachers ways that they can empower their own students to take charge of their own learning. So using programs like iExcel or Reflex, where they can look at their own skill plans. Students can they themselves decide, these are my recommended skills I'm going to practice on my own. I'm also going to use the practice skills that my teacher has assigned to me. So the students and the teachers have a two-way street of learning. So in summary, we have the data, we digest the findings, we make it actionable for the teachers, and then at the end of the day, we are here to support our student learning. And here's a summary of our school programs and academic support. Our data-driven instruction driven by formative and summative assessments embedded within the curriculum, our core curriculum, as well as our supplementary programs and resources, which we have many of. This information is also discussed regularly in professional learning communities with teachers and also focused on their student growth objectives, or SGOs. Within our academic programs, we have academic support like basic skills, intervention, BSI, in-class resource, our LIT department, and also our ESL program. The instructional coaches, we offer a menu of things to support teachers and students. We are doing regular classroom visits to support the teachers in lesson planning, in collaboration, in co-teaching, really whatever the teachers need, we are there to support them. We also are offering this year specialized coaches corner Monday meetings, where you pick a topic that is good for across grade levels and subject areas, across interdisciplinary subjects, and we are supporting the teachers in that way. While we can, our goal is to visit all of the teachers and support them, we do spend some extra time with our brand new teachers and our teachers who are new to HPS as they're getting acclimated into the profession and also our HPS culture. And then we know that HPS offers so many programs to support students outside of the classroom. We have after-school homework club, after-school enrichment, the BOSS program in the summer. We have peer tutoring during DR and IRL periods, and our Wildcat Skills Challenge competition. So like to engage the students with some friendly challenges with competition here with IXL-based skills, and that happens 2 times a year. So there's lots of data happening at HPS, but we all are focused on the growth of our students at the end.
Thank you, Ms. Troy.
I
We
do have a
have
couple.
questions.
Yeah, I have a couple. So there's a lot going on, and you and the other coach, there's 2 coaches. There's an ELA and a math coach. Okay, you have your hands full. You have a lot to do. So you offer supplemental materials to the teachers, the data that is shown on the assessments. Is there any follow-up with the teachers to see how they've implemented that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and that's with our classroom visits. We'll show them the data, we'll ask about progress monitoring, and when the benchmarks occur beginning, middle, and end of the year, we may share additional results. We're also looking at regular classroom data because most of our programs are online. We're able to pull that student data for them and help them even with their planning of all of that information, help them group their students, help them kind of drive that. So it's an ongoing process and not just when we get these assessments.
Okay, great. And then my other question is, how often do you see students taking advantage of like those opportunities to, like take it upon themselves to work on the skills or things that they may need practice with or they may need to work on? Like, do you see that happening a lot, a little bit, kind of in the middle?
Definitely, and especially with the IXL Skills Challenge, the kids like some friendly competition. So when there's an incentive or they can visually see what their practice is, a lot of these programs have embedded rewards, if you will, so they're able to challenge themselves even. And so the teachers are very well versed in just kind of encouraging students, when you're done with this, let's go back and do another diagnostic and get a different set of skills for you to practice on. So they know that it's just embedded within their learning, and they're just excited to just,
So you do have to like dangle a little incentive.
a little bit.
Okay. Because I was gonna say when I heard that, I had a similar question. Because I have 2 kids, and my experience with them is, unless I tell them no, go do this, you need extra work. They're not gonna take it upon themselves
For sure.
voluntarily. So just one, I think you answered it just now, but when you're saying we, in terms of who's doing the analysis and then who's supporting the classrooms, it's two coaches. The collective we is one for ELA and one for math.
Correct.
Okay,
And
and
then
then,
cross curricular, so we know that a lot of our teachers go in for BSI, so we're really supporting them. Anybody who touches those subject areas,
okay,
that we're supporting.
okay. And then second, we have our own internal district benchmarks. Do we based on what you're seeing internally with our benchmarks, are we on par with as expected in the actual scoring that we see, the standardized scoring that we're getting? Are we underperforming or overperforming based on what you're expecting from how we're doing with our own district benchmarks?
So with our district benchmarks, they are predictive. So what we are able to see in things like Linkit is that a student above or advanced will likely see that's SLA. So we're seeing those correlations in the data,
Okay.
And then are able to compare that information across states, across the states.
Are you tracking that too?
So,
Because sometimes
I
we
think-
we go through these scores and you're like, we've been trending up and we were kind of unexpected to see this, or
Yeah,
we
so,
did better than what was average,
so to answer the first part of your question, or to add on to the first part, the Linkit benchmark aims to emulate what the state test is going to look like.
Okay.
But we don't know for sure what the state test looks like. They'll give us samples of questions.
Right.
But we don't. But the only kids that will see a state test are the kids that actually take it. We're not going to get a copy of that back. So it's they're predicted to a certain extent. But what we're looking for is wherever we see in October, and then we know where there's going to be a benchmark 2 and a benchmark 3. We want to see the arrow going up, right? And we've seen that, and the goal is that when there's times where we don't see the arrow go up enough, we say, what might we want to do differently, or what can we do better to try and address whatever the needs that the kids are telling us. And I also think too, a big part of this is, she talked about like the holistic data, but it gets so individualized because we could see what a Lincoln benchmark is going to be. 10 different skills they're going to look to assess. So we can kind of see what a certain group of kids are at a certain grade level, what they're strong at, and what they need to work on. So we can kind of adjust instruction in real time. But ultimately, what I'm looking at from my level is just the scores to keep going upwards.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, beautiful presentation, by the way. Thank you for the information. I just don't remember from the results. I know one went up a little bit and one went down. Can you recall?
Yeah, so we saw some gains in math overall. Overall, we saw gains. We saw a slight drop in a few grade levels for ELA, and we saw some gains in math.
Okay, so specifically with ELA, are we making any adjustments to the curriculum to make sure that we are, I guess, in efforts to try to I guess, have the ELA scores also go up? I know that all of these benchmarks and things like that are great, but in order to make a change there, what are we doing specifically?
That's what we meet with the teachers, or I meet with the teachers and provide them with those skill-based and standard-based assessments. We make sure that those areas that they need to be tested in are pushed up or be emphasized within the curriculum. Because ELA is cyclical and everything spirals, we make sure that they get enough practice in those things and make adjustments in the scope and sequence in case that it's something that they need extra practice in. So just working with the teachers to adjust the classes.
And also, is there any efforts to try to get the parents more involved, specifically in regards to getting the kids to take the test? For those that opt out.
Opt out.
Mhm.
We actually
Yeah,
don't have many that.
I can speak to that. So we have a certain percentage that opt out. It's not as high as it used to be when the test was called the FARC. That was kind of controversial. We have, we still have too many that opt out, but it's not like an epidemic or anything like that. What was the first part of your question?
In regards to getting the parents involved.
Oh, yes. So, and we was telling the finance committee this. Our parent liaison, we just started that position in September. We've been getting a whole lot of value from that position. We started doing virtual parent workshops, and part of what she's explaining to parents are in multiple languages and is here's all the services that are available to you. And then she's also getting specific with, working with guidance counselors, helping address specific concerns with parents about the instructional programs.
Okay. And one other question, I'm sorry. In regards to comparables, to other districts around Prospect Park, or I guess, I don't know, Northampton's probably not comparable, but how are we looking?
On these benchmark assessments?
Or the NGSA?
I don't know.
So yeah,
I think there was a national, a state average.
They give you the state average, right?
Right.
So they give you that as one metric to go against. They used to do something called district factor groups, which was schools in the state that had a similar both population and economic socioeconomic level. They kind of went away from that, so they don't show you how you compare to that particular peer group anymore. So right now, we would have to look at whatever every district that you'd want to know reported at their board meeting, because I wouldn't have access to that.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
I don't want to jump ahead on the agenda, but if I may, bring everyone's attention to 8.2, on the curriculum. It's parent workshops that are scheduled for November, one in English, I believe, and one in Spanish. Our parent coordinator is putting together for using the real-time application. With that being said, how do we feel that a workshop like that is going to impact our benchmarks? Having our parent coordinator educate our parents how to use real-time so they can better assist their children at home.
Yes.
They're not going to be able to assist their children if they're not able to know where their children are at. They're not even checking their children's report card. So we have to start there. We have to make sure that our parents are aware how to log into the application, how to check their child's grades, and so on and so forth. Because we need the parents' cooperation. Where we were at last time as it pertains to parents checking the real-time portal, about how many % of parents check that portal.
You bring up a really good point in that we just started this Title I Parent Liaison, and we wanted to start with something so fundamental, but still super important, which is getting parents familiar with all the systems we have so that they can monitor not only their child's grades, but monitor their child's attendance on there, their child's discipline on there, their child's teacher comments, the guidance counselor notes. We want that to be something that, not only the parents, but we want the kids to also be, checking on that often. So that's why we started doing things like this, or this early on in her tenure in this position. And I think to answer your first question, how will that impact assessment scores? I can only imagine it would help build enthusiasm. And I think whenever the child sees that mom and dad are aligned with the vision of the school, I think that it's a very healthy place for a kid to be academically.
And, to your point about the kids checking, I know we're getting off topic here, but I noticed that when the kids get older and they check themselves, there's a little more ownership there. Like when they're younger, they don't have any, I guess they do have access. They don't really check the portal, but as they get older, like in middle school, they're checking it and they're like, oh, I got this grade. And then they're seeing how quickly, the score, their tests are being graded, how quickly the grades are coming back. I just know that from my own child and her friends. So, that's a part of it too.
You bring up a good point. I read a study where if you go into a classroom and you ask a child, what's your grade in this class? The children that can accurately describe to you exactly what their grade is and be able to tell you why, those children tend to do better in that particular subject. And I think there's a correlation between the ownership and then checking in and seeing it in real time and just kind of, I think so at least.
I recall the real-time portal was the last report that you issued, Mr. Walker, was like maybe 30% of parents check.
Oh yeah, it's probably, I would say, Bill, it's coming from Roman, about 30 or 40% maybe check report cards. Yeah.
So I would like for the school
We wanna
district
see it
to
go up.
monitor after these workshops, how much more parents are checking the real-time portal. We can keep an eye on
We
that.
can compare the first market period versus the third and see how much went up, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Choi?
Yes, in regards to the benchmarks, how are they correlated into their actual grades within the grade?
They're not used as actual grades. So they're just data for the teachers to understand where students are.
Yeah, because that was a big selling point in that we wanted the kids to want to take the test and to take it seriously. And like, some schools philosophically will put grade weights on a benchmark. But for us, like, what are we really using it for? We're really using it to find out what an authentic start point is, and then where the progress markers are going to be. So we didn't want to put that. There's a lot of test pressure on kids anyway. So philosophically, we decided not to grade that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Troy. This was a great presentation.
Ms. Troy, well done. Thank you. And Ms. Ramos too. Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's move on to minutes. Can I have a motion to accept prior minutes?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Abbasi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi?
Yes.
Mr. Collado?
I abstain.
Yes,
Oh, Mr. Collada's here? Okay. Mr. Collada?
yes,
Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Dr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Guzman?
Yes. Okay, can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens on agenda items only?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Dr. Webb. Roll call, please. Okay, or all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
aye,
The floor is open to the public on agenda items only. Anybody? Yeah, anybody? I see anybody? Okay, can I have a motion to close?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Abbasi. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Okay. Moving on to reports. Okay, so I will begin. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. First off, as yesterday was election day, and we have unofficial results for local school board elections. I want to congratulate Keisha Johnson and Roxana Cerna for being elected to the Hailton Board of Education beginning in January 2025. I also want to congratulate incumbent Hailton School Board member Carlos Motzko on his win. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year to keep moving our district and our students forward. I also want to sincerely thank Omar Abbasi and Nathan Webb for their dedication and service these past few years. We've been through a lot together, and your contributions to this board are valuable and appreciated. We still have 3 more meetings to get work done, and I want to make the most of them. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the New Jersey School Boards Association annual conference that took place a couple of weeks ago. A number of our school board members, along with Chief School Administrator Mr. Waka and our Business Administrator Ms. Augustin, attended this multi-day event, which provides an opportunity for school board members to participate in sessions and discussions that provide professional development, guidance, best practices, and a chance to network and team build with fellow board members within our district, our county, and across the state. So I attended some great learning sessions that focused on student achievement, leveraging school board committees, which is a topic that I think we should take a closer look at, and gathering student input on various school topics, an idea that I'd really like to explore further. I also had the pleasure of attending the Effective Law Enforcement and School District Collaboration session presented by our very own CSA, Mr. Waka, and School Board Commissioner Deputy Chief Guzman. Mr. Waka and Mr. Guzman walked session participants through our process of building and maintaining a productive and efficient system for communication and collaboration between our local police department and our school district. This successful relationship helps to ensure the safety and security of our students and our school. So while every district and police department is different and has unique factors that would need to be worked out on an individual basis, I believe that we here in Hailton have an excellent model that any district could follow in order to create a valuable partnership with its local police department and a system in which all stakeholders benefit. So thank you for that great presentation, Mr. Waka and Mr. Guzman. And thank you for sharing your expertise and our own experience with other districts in the state. I think that they benefited, those who were in attendance benefited. Next, I don't want to steal any of Mr. Waka's thunder, but I do want to congratulate the administration, including Mr. Waka and Ms. Augustin, as well as our Director of Facilities, Mr. Mann, and his custodial team on the wonderful accomplishment of completing the school building addition construction project on time and on budget. It was a huge undertaking, and everyone's cooperation was truly appreciated, especially that of teachers, staff, and students. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new classrooms and the space being filled with eager students and dedicated staff and lots of learning. Congratulations and thank you to everyone involved. And then before I turn it over to Mr. Waka, does anybody who attended the workshop want to comment on any sessions that they attended or just the conference as a whole?
I'll say it was an eventful couple of days. I really did enjoy the session that Captain Guzman and Mr. Walker did. Took some pictures, I sent them to you guys. But I really wish that everyone could be there because united as a united front. I mean, obviously people work on different stuff, but as a united front, us being there together, I think we'll be better next time if we all can come together.
Yes, Mr. Guzman.
Yeah, so it was truly an honor to present in Atlantic City at the New Jersey School Boards Convention on effective collaboration between law enforcement and school officials. Just to reiterate, our school resource officers are not just merely school resource officers. They are detectives assigned to our schools that specialize in juvenile matters, right? They have specialized training in interviewing juveniles, whether it's a sexual situation or a bullying situation, so on and so forth. They are liaisons between the police department, the St. County Prosecutor's Office, Juvenile Unit. When not in the performance of their official duties as SROs, they oversee our community police and youth services division. They do a tremendous job. They are beyond just officers armed with a gun. It's a model that works, and we're always looking for ways to expand on that. And let's be clear, there's still a lot more work to be done, such as that drop-off and pick-up situation on the avenue that is still seems to be a problem, and we need to finally address that. But I digress on that, and it's truly an honor, and I thank everyone for their support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, to Mr. Martinez's point, I think, while everybody may not be able to attend the conference in Atlantic City, I think it's really important for us as a board to attend professional development together. So whether that's a county meeting or, a session that NJSBA is providing or some other format, some other venue. It's great to attend those sessions together because then we can discuss it together, and it's just a really good way to build camaraderie, as well as build our knowledge. So, and to Mr. Guzman's point, the SROs are just a part of our collaboration with the police department.
Sure.
That's a successful part of it. It's just part of it. We have a lot of other ways that we communicate and collaborate that makes this a successful model. So I'm really proud of that, and thank you again for that presentation. Yep.
I just want to piggyback on that. I love the fact that the officers that are here are also the officers that are out there. So they know and they see what's going on in the neighborhood, and it can easily,
If you folks noticed, it's strategically done. The same in a lot of different districts, the SRO uniform is different. In Haledon, the same uniform that our SROs wear is the same uniform that our patrol officers wear. So our students can make that connection. It's very important.
and they also see that, the headline about, police officers not being the best. They don't see that here because they're involved, and they have that one-on-one connection with the kids. The kids see them in the street. They're you want that. You want your kids to have that trust,
Sure.
right? And be able to, not even in school, but even in the street, be able to see, officer, I need your help. That they already met them here. They already had that relationship here.
And we thank our superintendent, Mr. Walker, for inviting the Haledon Police into the school district to do walkthroughs and things of that nature. Same thing with our superintendent up at Manchester Regional High School, Mr. John Coviello. He opens his doors, their doors to the Haledon Police Department as well. We can't be more thankful. We appreciate the collaboration and the cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to our Chief School Administrator, Mr. Walker.
All right, I'll start by thanking Ms. Troy. That was a really good report. It shows how far this board's come. When I got here like 7 or 8 or 9 years ago, there was no math coach, no reading coach. But the board kind of advocated for that, and we've seen gains for that. So thank you for that. And they do a great job. They're great teachers for the other reasons the scores have been doing well, and the kids are getting a whole lot of different services. Construction update, we're like 99.9% done. We're just waiting for the fence rental company to come pick up their fences. So I am told that on Monday, they're going to be gone one way or the other. But we've already moved 2 classrooms into that area over the teachers, and we'll be out for the teachers convention in a couple days. But they've done a great job kind of getting those rooms ready so that when we get back on Monday, we'll look to have more, kiddos in classrooms to get that area fully populated. They're doing a great job. And you're right, we went on time, on budget. So I just want to thank the board and Lamika and Jermaine and our neighbors. Our neighbors have been really good because we've made some noise lately, but they, I didn't get one single complaint about the construction or the parking. So thank you to our neighbors. And on December 18th at 6:30, we'll send you an electronic invite to this, but we're going to do like a ribbon cutting type ceremony. It'll be on the 2nd floor. That's where there's a plaque that we put into the wall that talks about the project and lists all the board members that were part of this process. But so far it's going great, so thank you. Next is not a good issue to talk to you about. So now for the 3rd time in about 18 months, we've had a pipe issue or pipe burst by the cafeteria area. So we looked into it, and when they built this school a long time ago, it was decided that we're going to bring water in under the ground, and the water comes under the school and then comes into the building and spreads wherever it has to go. But that means if there's a problem with one of these underground pipes, now we got to take a jackhammer, and it's a real tough process just to get to these pipes. We've replaced the sections of pipes that have kind of eroded. But if we're replacing 3 of these pipes in 18 months, it probably looks like the shelf life of these particular pipes that were installed forever ago, they're just going to start to erode. So we've asked the plumber to give us a detailed report, and then Lamika and I will look at it and make a recommendation as to what to do next. But we'd like to see if it's possible we can get some kind of camera and a snake and a flashlight to go into the pipes to see how bad is this problem in the middle school and the cafeteria area. We don't know how bad it's going to be or how bad it could potentially be. So we want to get that information, and we're working to get that now. In the meantime, just because, the last thing you'd want is a pipe to burst on a Saturday night and then no one finds out about it till, the following Monday morning, and now we're in a bad situation. We're going to have custodians come to the building every so often on the weekend just to kind of check the area. Jermaine on his phone camera has the ability to look at our Hamilton school cameras. We can look at that area just every now and then just to make sure nothing bad's happened. But that would be something that would really be bad if it happened then and then we didn't discover it for a while. And in the meantime, we're going to look to talk to the plumbers to see is there some kind of fail-safe device where if water's detected on the floor. In the meantime, before we figure out exactly what we got to do with this problem, with this project, I'd like to be able to kill the water supply if some kind of water is detected. So I'm not a plumber. But we're going to try and learn more about this and make a recommendation to the board. That's kind of, Lamika might have more to explain about that, but that's kind of where we're at with this project. Next, I got to say thank you to the Maker Series team. They do the Maker Nights. We're usually really good at not double booking, but we booked a dance and a Maker Night on the same Friday night. And both really like having a lot of space, but because there's more kids in the dance, the Maker Night's going to be held in the small gym. So I really appreciate that team kind of, making that adjustment for me so we could get 2 good things for kids, and not have to cancel one. So just a reminder to the community on Thursday, Friday, the Certified Angels program and the aftercare program will be open for students. I know the board had asked for this last year, so Mr. Sposato was kind of put this together. So for the month of October 24, the guidance department held 106 mediation or conflict resolution sessions between student and student, or student and teacher, or just whatever is kind of bothering kids. The year before that, we only held 53. So I'm really proud of what the guidance team and with Mr. Sposato are kind of doing the kind of work with the teachers to identify problems before they become bigger problems. In the first 2 months of the year, it's still a middle school, but it's been a kind of a quiet middle school. And I think a lot of that's because of the individualized work that the guidance counselors are doing. So thank you to everyone that's part of that. And then the last thing you're going to see that I want to talk about is on the agenda, there's the CUSAC self-reported score. We got, I self-reported the full scores for governance, grounds, and then for operations. We've had CUSAC maybe 3 or 4 times now, and it really hasn't changed. So we've gone through the process. We've made our process the process that is we get the highest scores. So I feel confident that that section is we'll get the scores we reported. There's some kind of a glitch on there's one section that had 90% instead of 100. We'd gotten 100% of them last time. There was some kind of glitch in the software. I couldn't figure out how to enter the score. So Ms. Moser's working on that to try and fix that, but the personnel will be 100. And then Ms. Lamika and Ms. Moser do a really good job with our HR department. And then you'll see a 40% for instruction. That all of our curriculum are up to date and up to standard. But the state has not populated the test scores into their rubric or their formula. So we don't have, when we get that information, then we have to share that with the board as well. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Walker? Okay, our business administrator, Ms. Augustin.
Thank you. So just like Mr. Walker noted, the construction project is nearly completed in most areas. We received a certificate of occupancy and some classes have already moved into the building. We just have a few other things that financially we take care of on the agenda. You'll probably see the last payment application on the agenda, a few change orders that will open. One is on there tonight, so that'll probably be the next, few agendas until everything is squared away. The contractor took care of all the punch list items, so the architect signed off on everything, so we're good to go so far. And obviously, the contractor let us know if there's anything that comes up. They're still around to make sure everything is, 100% to our satisfaction. The piping issue that happened earlier, I spoke to Mr. Walker and Mr. Mann about what we need to do to try to combat that issue going forward. Right now, we're just going to do an assessment to see where we are. This is the 3rd time, I believe it happened, so we want to make sure that we understand what's going on with the piping. Mr. Mann already gave us some suggestions, and we're just going to, connect with the professional, and even if we need to get a second opinion to see what our options are, and we'll come back with you guys on a plan. It's definitely going into the long-range facility plan, just in case it becomes a bigger project than we anticipated, but it is something that we see that now that we really, really need to address. Okay? For the CUSAC, upcoming CUSAC, I got an email today. I don't know if you saw the email about the facility walkthrough that's happening on November 21st.
I haven't checked email since about 2 o'clock,
Okay,
so I might have
yeah.
missed it.
So the county VA sent an email that we're the first district to have, and great, that's what I said.
That's what we want.
Yeah, we're gonna be the first district to do the
Set a high
facility
bar.
walk through. Usually when we're a couple districts down, so I usually collaborate with some of the other business administrators, so they'll be collaborating with me at this time. So
Well, I'm sure we'll rise to the occasion.
yeah, definitely, but it's always good to get a little insight before, because they, sometimes they just look at different things every time. We stick to the standard, but there's always like a curveball there, and I'm hoping that I'm for sure we'll rise to the occasion, like you guys said. But just to let you know, that's right around the corner. So. A few items on the agenda. I did mention the change order with the contractor, so we'll see a couple of those before the financial aspect of the project goes out. We have the discarding of the Chromebooks. This is usually when the shelf life of the Chromebooks are at its life cycle. We usually discard them, and I think Bill, if you can remind me, you guys clean slate, clean them off, and okay. And use the parts that you can use, right? Okay. And also on there, on the agenda, we're highlighted resolution 12.19. This is the annual comprehensive maintenance plan. I just wanted to let you guys know that's something that the district has to present to the county every year. It's just a plan to say that we are keeping up with the building facilities and we're doing the required maintenance every year, and we have to put a plan together and send it to the county for approval. So that's something we do every year. Other items on there is tuition contracts, if there's any questions on those, but those are IEP related. And there are some medical resolutions for, I believe it's a dental company that wants to give services to our kids for free. Any questions?
So on 1219,
Mhm.
you referenced the maintenance plan and the anticipated budget that you calculate annually. So is that accounted for in our, does that match what we have budgeted for maintenance?
For 24, 25, yes. If you look at the 24, 25 column, I took it right off the budget. that
So
total number.
this 25, 26 column will feed into next year's budget?
Yes,
Okay.
I just increased it by 2%. Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Lux.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to our committee reports, personnel and management, Mr. Guzman.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to start by saying that regardless of what's going on a federal level or on a state level, it's important that we all work together on a local level. Let's continue being good neighbors. Let's continue to be there for one another. Public service is not about titles. It's a way of life. We may not all agree on everything, but one thing is for sure. Ms. Roxana Serna, Mr. Omar Abbasi, Mr. Carlos Maxo, Dr. Nathan Webb, and Mrs. Lakeisha Johnson are all dedicated public servants. Hilton had 5 solid candidates to choose from to be board members. And unfortunately, only three can be chosen. But again, it's not about titles, it's a way of life. There's no doubt in my mind that regardless of who comes out victorious ultimately as the results are certified, I think that we're going to be in good hands, and that we're going to continue working together to move Hailden forward. And I think I just wanted to share that sentiment with everybody because it's very important that we don't get caught up on titles. Mr. Omar Abbasi has served this board with nothing but the utmost professionalism and dedication. Same thing with Dr. Nathan Webb. So I just want you to continue to stay motivated. And as you both already know, you don't have to be on this board to make a difference in our community. So I want to salute both of you, and I want to congratulate from the bottom of my heart the presumed winners of this election, which Mrs. Roxana Serna, Mr. Carlos Maxo, and Mrs. Lakeisha Johnson. And with that being said, agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Okay, curriculum and technology, Dr. Webb.
Just before I say agenda items only, I do want to thank all of the residents of Hailden who did support my campaign. I don't take it lightly, and I'm here, and I'll be back. So agenda items only.
Thank you. Policy and public relations, Mr. Martinez.
Agenda items only.
Security and safety, Mr. Guzman.
Agenda item only.
Community engagement, Mr. Abbasi.
Nothing to report.
Okay, finance and physical plant, Mr. Guzman.
Agenda item.
And for state and county, we do have a Passaic County School Board Association meeting coming up on Monday, December 9th. It's a hybrid, so if you can't attend in person, you can attend virtually. And if you do attend in person, it's going to be at Lakeland Regional High School in Wanacue. And it's 7 to 8:30 virtually, and if you attend in person, I think it starts at 6 because they have dinner. So keep that in mind. It's the last one of the calendar year, so that's an opportunity to. Oh, I'm sorry. The topic is harnessing the power of public relations, social media, and tech. So that's always interesting and relevant. Okay, and then board attorney report, Mr. Molina.
No report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go back now. Curriculum, and I'm sorry, personnel and management, Mr. Guzman.
I'd like to move item 7.1 through 7.11.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Dr. Webb. Roll call, please. Does anybody have any questions for personnel and management?
I got a couple.
Oh,
I only have
I'm
a couple.
sorry. I
No,
didn't
no,
see-
it's fine. I was
Right
waiting for her
down.
to say Mr. Abbasi, and then I usually talk.
Okay.
I only have a couple of these left, so I'm gonna take advantage of it. So just really quick, 7.4, is that just for substitutes that haven't already been approved? It's just we're adding one more? Or is this one substitute for the year? Like, we have more substitutes that are approved than just this one extra one, correct?
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the school year, there was a
We approved
very
the full
long
substitute list. So this is just one additional, okay. 7.8 for the rapid response team. Are all 18 members of this team? Do they all have the CPR AED training?
So we have, this year alone, Nurse Carr, her team, they have trained 90 staff members thus far.
Okay.
And we have another group of staff members that are going to be trained in February, in our next PD day in February. So we're going to be one of the more advanced schools around as far as this particular training. We appreciate that. So I don't have the list in front of me, but I imagine that all these people were part of that first group of 90.
Okay, and then let's just, God forbid, something happens outside in like the park area. What's the closest AED to that spot?
So there's one in the small gym area. This
Okay.
board, I thought, was wise when they voted yes to having a playground monitor. We didn't, most schools you go by and you see kids playing. It's what you want them to do after school on the road. But we decided let's just have a staff member there from 3 to 5 as often as we can get a staff member to do it. Just for peace of mind and to help the kids out, so that there's a staff member that is going to be either has that training. He has because he's a coach. So they'll be able to help in that situation.
And then lastly, very quickly, 710 and 711 are both new hires for the aftercare services program, right? And
So 711 is different. 710 is an aftercare employee. 711 is we were able to hire a school nurse.
okay.
So we're approving her tonight. The HEA and myself and Jeff have kind of all coordinated. We agreed that if this person's going to be hired with an emergency nurse certificate, like right now she's like a hospital nurse, but she doesn't have what she needs to get the full school nurse certificate. So we said we would provide would pay for the classes as long as she gives us a 2-year commitment. Once she becomes a full-time certified employee, and we thought that was a fair thing because she was the only person that applied, and she was a really, really, really impressive candidate.
Yeah, for some reason I read that they were both the same. I was curious as to why there was 2 for the one resignation, but my mistake. A very long yes. That's all I was-
I didn't do that.
Oh, sorry. I have no more questions. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, so now do roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi?
Yes.
Mr. Coletta?
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado? Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Dr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa?
Yes. Okay, curriculum and technology, Dr. Webb.
I'd like to move 8.1 through 8.6.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Dr. Webb, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please. If you have questions.
I do have questions.
You want me to?
Okay, do you want to just ask us before they vote, or should we?
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, let's do it that way, because that's the way we've always done it. If you have questions, before you vote, you can ask your questions.
So just really quickly, Mr. Walker,
Yeah.
on 8.3, the Jackals baseball team thing, are they coming? Are Jackals coming to the schools
So
to the
they
meeting, or is
they
this
came
just
last
an award?
year and did something similar. They gave I believe it was our 2nd graders and our 4th graders. I remember I was at the Jackals game with them that night, but I forget yeah, we were there too, yeah. So they gave the kids complimentary tickets and they let them do like we all ran in the field. And they do, and They also do like to connect with the schools, the reading incentive program.
Yeah.
They get free tickets or merchandise, whatever they complete the task.
But they're coming to the school too, like to do the reading with the kids, or is it just?
No, I think it's just a program. I don't think they,
I
It's
thought
the
it said
incentive to
assembly,
do the reading to go there.
they do like one big assembly hyping up the program, but I don't know if they're actually coming into the classrooms and reading with the kids.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the case or not.
It said in-school startup assemblies. But that's not actually them coming.
No, it's whatever their PR
administration.
team is, or
Right.
whatever their people that
Okay, got
It's
it.
affiliated with
Yeah.
the team,
Yeah.
it's not actual team members.
Right.
No, they didn't have any baseball
I was
players.
just curious if you had any like aspiring semi.
Are you a fan?
No, I was just curious.
Some sign balls.
But when we went, this was a real quick story. It was like it was us and Cedar Grove, and there was like really no one else there. So it was like a kind of a misty night. Every kid must have got a foul ball. Like every kid inhaled it, had so many opportunities. That part was neat. They were all excited.
Second on 8.4, and you referenced this in your report, Mr. Walker, the personnel one with so on that first page for 1B and 1C, the select the percentage of files for those is still not selected. If you put 100, I'm curious if that will make the tally go to 100 instead of 90 at the bottom.
It may have, because when I was doing this on the Excel, like every page looked the same except for the personnel page, and there was a formatting thing. So I might either miss something, but
Because I think 1A, B, and C are 3 separate inputs, just looking at it, and B and C still say select the percentage.
that could have been what was missed. But I know Ms. Moser told me she was going to correct whatever she was going to do on her end. I just haven't gotten confirmation that it's been done, but I've got very good faith. I know that she will. But that could very well be it.
And then 8.5. So a couple of questions on this is like a big checklist for the preschool program. There's one section there that says no, we don't have a Head Start program, and no, there's no private providers in the area that are available. Is that? I think it's questions like 21 to 23, something like that. So what? There's no private provider in the community or anything similar to the Head Start program, or do we have something else
So
that's similar?
We don't have a-
So I guess to answer your question, so the reason we have to do this is that our preschool is fully funded by the state. So we're it's free for our school to do it. They want us to take as many as they can, but we have to kind of go through their whole checklist. A Head Start's a specific type of program, and I don't believe there's a Head Start specifically in Hamlin. I think Passaic Tech has one, but they'll be in Wayne.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a curriculum committee meeting?
Curriculum.
Curriculum committee meeting.
Well, if there was something where I had a lot of stuff on there, or if a board, if the committee chair had requested one, then we were always happy to have one.
Just feel like there's a lot of questions. I think we should probably follow our model, which is the committee model.
That was one, I mentioned it in my report, that was one of the sessions that I attended about leveraging committees. And I think we could do a lot with that, It doesn't just have to be something new coming up, or something out of the ordinary. We could do a lot with the committees, and I think it's something to think about going forward and, for the new year.
But yeah, to answer your question, we don't have a specific Head Start agency to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. And then the last one on the same one, number 37, the screenings. Later on in the agenda, 12.6, there's a dental that's being provided. Like, should we?
So
Can we mark off dental here?
So what it is that
Based
the
on
screening that they're talking about here is just a mandated, like basically we all got as a kid. Here's your eye test. Here's your height. Here's your weight for certain times.
Yeah.
As far as the thing that you're referring to with that service, I think that's a service a parent can opt into. I think the dental company's giving away some kind of service. But the child would have to have their parent bring it to that office for that.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions.
Okay, so roll call.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mr. Colada,
yes,
Ms. Quadrado,
I have a question on the 8.2 for the parent workshops for the real time. Can we follow up afterwards to see what the status is, parent participation actually?
You with the numbers, like a metric of how many parents showed up at
Yeah,
the
because
thing?
you said we're like at 30-something% now. Maybe afterwards we can follow up and see if it actually helped. And is there a way that maybe there's like an acknowledgement button that has to be pressed for the parent?
So I think like if this is also, it's going to be on Zoom, right? So it should be recorded. So we should be able to see how many people.
But I'm saying for the real time, like when I go to check the report card, I'm in there,
Yeah.
and then I come out. Maybe we should do like an acknowledgement button.
There is,
Okay.
there is a button there when you, they have it for like the forms that you're supposed to fill out, and there's always a check mark there, but they also have the report cards. Now, I don't see anything like that for the grades, like the grade book, the daily grades, but there is a check off for the report card. You click the button and it verifies that you have reviewed the report card.
Bill, you better do the ad. You would know better than I would.
Yeah.
I would
Mr.
think that,
Martinez?
that actually for the grades, like a report card, yes, acknowledge, but also for like to get the parents into the habit of making sure that they're acknowledging their students' grades or their weekly reports and stuff like that.
Maybe
I think we
making it,
should
like,
add that. I mean,
mandatory and sending reminders, like I get a reminder that an assignment is missing, maybe sending a reminder to
Right.
then check the portal, something
I
like
mean,
that.
parents always ask, hey, how come you guys don't do this? How come you guys don't do that? Well, if you would go into the real time and you would actually look at it and acknowledge it, then you can't say we didn't give you that option. We don't want to make our parents do anything they don't want
You
to do.
can't make them do
Right,
anything.
but
you can give an
having the
incentive.
option that's there and you acknowledging them, it's letting us know that you're actually looking at your kid's stuff and that you're aware.
So,
Well,
I'm sorry.
two things. I think we could give an incentive if they go in and check, but from a technical standpoint I know with the report card, it's a document, it's a PDF, right? But with the grade book, it's like, I don't know what you would call it, but it's not a document. Is there a way to check off if somebody's looking at that screen or that page? That seems a little bit trickier.
Not really, because it's more of a live document where
Right.
you just add in daily or weekly, and
Okay.
it's not really something.
What were you gonna say?
So I was going to say something kind of similar in that, give it, maybe Bill and Pat can just give it a gander and see, is there any report we could run that would show us the level of parent participation in whatever the time frame we want to give onto the grade page? It might be possible there is some kind of report like that, but it's possible that there isn't. And I think that once we're going to see that as far as how many parents are going to this workshop or both of these workshops. So we should see an uptick. But if it's something that if it's possible to put in some kind of check mark, we could explore what the options are, and then I'd make a recommendation to the board.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Dr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa?
Yes. Oh, now let's get to finance and physical plan, Mr. Goodman.
Twelve point one through 12.20, I think.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Dr. Webb. Roll call, please.
Mr. Rossi?
One very quick question. 1220, the safety checklist.
Yes.
Are we in the process of getting flame retardant curtains for the stage?
Yes.
Okay. So it's in the works.
It did say that on the report that they're in the process.
I think it said we will. I just wasn't sure. Is there? That's fine. We're good. I was just curious how.
Deadline?
Is there any urgency
I don't
for
have
it?
a date for you, but will be
It's
most
pending.
likely done before the county VA comes
Okay.
in.
Thank you.
We have
Yes.
to see the availability. I have to check with the vendor to make sure that they can come. Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Colada?
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado?
I'm gonna say from 12.17 4500431, and yes for everything else.
And Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Dr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Guzman,
Yes.
and Mrs. Lissa.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do have to abstain from invoice 4351 on 12/17.
You said 4, 3?
4351.
Okay, good. Do we have any new or old business?
Right.
Mr. Guzman?
No, Madam President, so, as we have more board members that are becoming more seasoned, and everything else, sometimes it's good to go back to the drawing board and, revisit how we do business, committees, model, or any other model. So I think we're there, and we want to leverage the fact that we have Mr. Abbasi here, and Dr. Webb here, so on and so forth, as we, look into the new year and the foreseeable future. So I think, we should visit that and analyze that as a board, to see how we're going to conduct business. See if there's any other effective way, any other best practices throughout the state, and take it from there. I think we've come to that point.
So,
Some board members are more effective at asking the questions via email. Some of them make a phone call. Some of them discuss it via committee. And we, it's important that we're all. So I think that's important. I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. It's a good suggestion. I'm not sure how that would look, because it would be done in a meeting, in a public meeting, if we're all together.
Sure.
So do you have any thoughts on how we would do that? We could do it at the November 20th meeting, maybe designate time on the agenda to talk about that, or anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think it's something that maybe our superintendent can look into and come back with maybe a proposal, or we can consider down the line for another retreat as well.
Yeah.
It's just something that we can revisit. That's all. Doesn't mean we have to. I mean, I think right now things are going smoothly, in my opinion, but it's something that we can consider.
Well, I think that's definitely a good topic for a retreat. If we want to have Dr. Webb and Mr. Abbasi here in the capacity of board members, it would have to be done before the end of December. So, we could think about designating some time on the November 20th, because the December 18th one, we're going to have the ribbon cutting, and it's the end of year. I don't know if that would be.
I think it'd be a good discussion for the board to have at the retreat about how do we want to, in the future, do onboarding for new board members. You have there's governance one they have to take, and the new board member academy and all that stuff. So the opportunities for someone new in the position, they're there for them to kind of pick up on it. But I also think that if there is some kind of, even if it's a suggestion protocol for onboarding, it's not a bad idea.
Right.
Put together some notes or observations I've had that may be useful for that. When I first started, I used to either call you before and ask a bunch of questions and then just say yes to everything. Or sometimes if it was a longer thing, I would email you guys. I've now leaned more towards, I don't know if people get annoyed by it, but I actually like to ask the questions in public, because it might sometimes it triggers other conversation that we didn't think we were going to have.
That's true.
So I stopped kind of giving you a heads up and just giving you pop quizzes all the time.
Yeah, so the NGSBA has their suggestion is the rule of no surprises, but I also think that I don't philosophically think that's always if there's information that's not super high profile.
I'm not trying to be like I got you.
But sometimes at a board meeting you want to say something publicly because it's
And
good
it
for the order.
shows, and it shows the community that you're being a diligent board member when you ask the question.
I agree.
So I understand that part too. So I think we need to balance all that.
Yeah.
Come up with a good balance and move forward.
Yeah, and keeping in mind though that, committee work is where a lot of that hashing out should happen too.
Right.
So that we're not getting bogged down with a lot of details. like higher level questions are good at the meeting, at the public meeting, but when we start to like really get into the weeds, that's better, I think, in committee meetings, just so that, you know, it doesn't slow down the meeting, like the pace of the meeting too much. But if you're willing to do that, Mr. Abbasi, and if you would like to, Dr. Webb, like share any of your thoughts, you know, that would be wonderful, you know, and I think that's definitely a topic, a retreat topic for sure. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah.
And I know I've asked this question in the past about, you know, looking into the possible sidewalk, a couple other things in terms of security. The all-inclusive park as well. Do we have an update on that as it pertains to the building extension and the all-inclusive park?
Yeah, so at the next board meeting, I'll show some pictures of what makes our playground an inclusive playground, whereas before it wasn't. And a lot of it's just the visuals, the teamwork the kids have to use to operate the thing. There's sound, there's a lot of different things that we hadn't seen at a playground before. But I think that's a good idea. I'll provide pictures and a little update about what makes that unique.
And lastly, if I may, access to the park. You know, sometimes, you know, we want to make sure we visit the protocol as far as when the park is open, when the park is closed. We may want to have that park open for the community even when school is closed and things like that. So I believe we need to weigh that and make a board policy on the park. You know, whether it's the park is open, you know, I don't know, from sun up to sundown, 7 days a week. But then who's responsible for locking the park? Would it be one of our custodians? And cleaning it. So we have to weigh all of that. But it's important, I think, that the community at large should have access to the park. I mean, again, that's a decision.
So we have, before Lamika had got here, one of my first years, we put on because we knew that there was going to be times where we just didn't have supervision, but we wanted the kids to be able to play on this equipment because it's right there and it's a safe environment. So we opened the park up, but I think Mr. Molino helped us write it, but we just put postage, signage around there saying, basically you're on your own after school hours. There have been weekends when it's nice where we've left the gates open and kids have enjoyed it. We haven't really, knock on wood, we haven't really come back on a Monday when it's happened where the place is wrecked. You know, maybe a couple wrappers here and there, but we haven't seen any damage or any like vandalism there. So I like the idea of kids being able to play outside. But then during the wintertime, we just close it down for everyone.
Sure, I mean, that makes sense. But I think that we have a policy on the park as far as the operation of the park, just continuity. It's not just, oh, it's a good day, so we're going to leave it open. You know, I think that we should have a protocol in place. We should talk to council to see if, you know, what liability, if any, is on the board, because obviously we leave the park open and something happens, that could be an issue too. So does the signage suffice and leave the board of any liability? I don't know.
Because that comment, I know Lamika's always going to be in a position where she's like, let's protect the liability, right?
Sure, of course.
But
I understand that.
I drive by a whole lot of, I have to drive past 7 different elementary schools to get to work from where I live.
Sure.
And every one of them, there's kids can go onto the playground anytime they want because there's no fence, there's no barrier, right? And I think it's important for as a kid to have a local, your school to be in a comfortable place where you want to go there and play in the playground after school hours. You know, when it's weather permitting and reasonable. So I kind of do like, I would recommend to this board that I agree, maybe we should have it in policy. Jeff, is there any policy we have in this now, or what's the blanket umbrella coverage on it?
Yeah, we do have the policy, and we've checked with insurance to make sure there's enough coverage. So it's continually updated. So we have the insurance coverage, we have the policies in place, we have that signage. I think we're protected, but we could always take a look at it again.
Yeah, let's revisit it. And also remember too, we can always reach out to the chief so he can authorize perhaps periodic checks at the park by patrol, and like we do already, but you know, something more formalized. That's all.
And it does help that there's no lights out there, you know, so it's the kind of thing where the dusk is kind of a natural deterrent.
I have a question though. Yeah. So this, when you were saying before that we have a monitor there, a staff monitor from 3 to 5. So are we talking about after 5 o'clock, like
or on weekends? Because
in the spring and summer.
This, you know, September 5 o'clock, kids are still going to want to be out there.
Right.
But I,
3 to 5, it's still kind of covered, it's considered school.
so it's,
hours because the
this,
monitor is
so
there?
we put the monitor there. We weren't legally forced to put the monitor there. This was something that I recommended. The board kind of seemed to agree with it, where we'd all feel a little more comfortable if we have someone. We hired, Mr. Cusack is doing it, and he's, getting stuff done on his knee. So now we got, a couple other staff members that have, taken up that type of position. But yeah, there's times where, there's summertime and the kids, that there's no camp or anything, the kids in the community will use the park often.
So sometimes, Madam President, so after school, right, the kids go, they hang out in the park and they play basketball. They're in the kiddie park. And instead of forcing them out of there, you have a monitor there, monitor them after school till 5 o'clock is something that Superintendent felt prudent about. And you know what, it's a good idea. But now what do we do on weekends or anything like that? So
Yeah, so a lot of
times,
the weekend is about like if Friday was a rain out and we lock the doors, we probably don't open it the rest of the weekend.
Sure.
But sometimes, and I could be wrong about this, but to the best of my recollection of it, if it's nice on a Friday, the kids go to the playground, and then the park should be open on the weekends. I could double check that to be sure.
Can I make a suggestion? If the president wants to kick that certain, issue or initiative to a committee, I don't know if you want to kick it to security and safety. Myself, Mr. Coletta, and the other member can look at that with the superintendent.
Let me get the board the factual detail about when it's open, when it's closed. Because you're right. A lot of times it's either me, whoever's in charge of the building, saying it's kind of wet outside. Let's just close it after school. Or a storm might be coming later. Let's close the park. But yeah, there's nothing formal other than just my assessment. Whoever's in charge of the building that day's assessment.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mr. Walker, once you provide some information, if it does go to a committee to kind of further it, like I'm looking at the committees now, I think security and safety would probably make the most sense.
Okay.
So, but let's wait to hear back from Mr. Walker. And I do want to ask, how does that interact? How does that affect aftercare? Because aren't the aftercare kids also in the playground and between the hours of 3 and 5? Or
Yeah, so you'll have the staff members watching the kids or the parent whoever's kind of hanging out in that area. The aftercare will usually use either the far side of the playground or the field. Sometimes they kind of mix together for a little bit. The aftercare is more structured, but yeah, so they will intermingle, but they intermingle anyway in the playground, right, during the school day.
Okay. All right, great. Anybody else?
Quickly, I'd just like to say, I was probably going to wait till the 18th. I might still say something then, but I do want to congratulate Commissioner Moxo on his re-election and challengers, Roxanne and Ms. Serna and Ms. Johnson. And congratulations, me, Dr. Webb, done a job over here, and I appreciate the kind words that we're supposed to hear.
Thank you very much.
I also have something. So I just have a follow-up question on a question I asked a while ago in regards to after-school care and the payment system. If you think that something implemented.
I did bring it up to work on the pay school portion of it, but it isn't finalized yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be through pay schools. That's our only option. So the parent will have to create an account and they will have to move their funding, up on the account. We just have to connect it to, see how we can connect it to the aftercare with the billing.
Yeah, I think that's great because not a lot of parents have time to run to the bank to get the actual cash and would rather do it online.
Yeah.
It's like a convenience.
Yeah.
Doing it through pay school will be the only option. We're not going to do Zelle or Cash App or any of that. So that's not going to be, that would be an option because of the liability it has towards our bank accounts. So.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
I make a motion to open up the public portion.
Yep. Okay, so moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Mr. Martinez. All in favor? Okay. The floor is open to any members of the public who would like to address the school board. We'll start with anybody who's here. Would you like to? No? Anybody online? Okay. All right, then could I have a motion to close?
So moved.
You want to do
Second.
student matter? Okay.
Third. We're closing
we
the
have
public.
to-
Oh, okay, very
Close
good, you're right,
public.
you're right. My bad.
So moved by Mr. Abbasi, seconded by Mr. Martinez, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we do have an executive session. We are, so Mr. Coletta can stay because our new policy is beginning as of January,
That's correct.
right? So Mr. Coletta, you can stay. Just please make sure you're in a private, environment. And we will take to discuss a student matter, we will take about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will come back. So at this point,
Do you take any action on this?
No.
so no action will be taken.
Motion to go into executive.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Do we have to do roll call, or can we do all in favor?
It's a roll call, just.
Okay, roll call. Roll call,
Mr.
please.
Abbasi?
Yes.
Mr. Coletta? Ms.
Yes, just I'm in the car with someone, so I'm going to log out until you guys are done this way.
Okay,
Keeps
all
the-
right, thank you.
Keeps the
Appreciate it.
confidentiality. If somebody could just shoot me a text when you're done, I'll log right back on.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yes.
Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Dr. Webb?
Yes.
And Mr. Jessup?
yes.
Motion
All right,
to
it's
adjourn.
8:41, so motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, no, we have to move, I'm sorry.
We all seconded.
George, Mr. Guzman, motioned, Mr. Martinez seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. See you all in a couple of weeks.
Go Wildcats.
Mika, you good?